In lesson 4, I want to talk about the important part of, let's just show you real quick. When I add a book, well, we can't add a book yet. We've got to have an author. So I'm going to add an author. First name, Big Bunny. Okay. All right. There's our author. Now we can go back to books and we can add a book. The red carrot, page count 200, and the author ID is 3. Okay. Now this is the hard part, and this is what I want to fix. Okay. I want to fix this author ID. I want this to be the author's name, and I want the drop down when I add a book to be the author's name. I don't want to have the person guess. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my PyCharm. Okay. And I'm going to go to my books.py. I'm going to copy the whole thing. Actually, I'm probably not going to have to copy the whole thing. What I'm going to do is go back to my chat that I've been using the whole time. I'm going to close this template and I'm going to go up to the one that is for this blueprint, the books blueprint. Okay. And I'm going to say in the books blueprint, convert, I want to see the author's first and last name in the table when the page loads. Okay. That should be the starting point. So I'm going to click enter, and then it should make a change here under the select statement. Okay. So here it should say, and so notice it did a join, right? So now it's grabbing the book ID, the book name, the page count, the author ID, the first name, the last name from books, and it's passing in, or it joined up the book ID and the authors, and basically that's how you do the join. Okay, it's taking all that, putting it into books, sending books out to out there. Okay, now it is most likely going to tell me that we need to adjust the template file also. Okay, so I'm going to copy this blueprint. Okay, copy the blueprint. I'm going to go back to PyCharm. I'm going to paste it in. Okay, then I'm going to go back to where we were. I'm going to hit refresh and see if it kills anything. No, but it also didn't load here. Okay, which means it didn't grab it out of the thing like it was supposed to. Okay, so I need to update the books.html. So I'm going to copy, I could copy the whole thing, but instead, why don't I just go back and just tell it, I'm going to close this. I'm going to go back down to the books one, books blueprint, author's template, books template here. I'm going to say, adjust this books template, books.html template to show the data coming from the new books.py to include the author's name. And that should give it enough information to know what I'm trying to do. And so here, let's see if this will adjust it. It might actually adjust this author name automatically. It did not. That's okay. I didn't tell it specifically to, but down here, it did. It put author name here. Okay. And then notice here, it's book first name, book last name, because it's not going to say author first name, author last name, because it all came into this as an Excel spreadsheet called all books. And then each category, each column in the Excel spreadsheet becomes part of a book variable. So each of these names, book ID, book name, count, all those become off of this and what column these are in inside that. So this should work. I'm going to copy that whole thing. I'm going to paste it right into my template file. Okay, so go back to books.html, copy the whole thing, and paste it in. Okay, and now when I go back and I run that and hit refresh, it will say author name Big Bunny. Okay, so we're getting close, right? So when I add a book, it still has author ID, but when I go to update, it still has author ID. So I need to tell it to do it for the add. Okay, so we will come back over here. actually, let's go to our chat again, and we'll just tell it, fix it for the add and update modals as well. I want a drop down for both, and I want the one that is currently in the database to be first in the list. Okay, let's see if that works. So we're going to come and see it's starting to adjust. So we're looking here for author ID. Okay, so now it just says author, and it creates a drop down for it. So this is the drop down. So a select is the drop down, and the first value is select an author, option value, author ID, first name. I think that's for add. Okay, so there's not already one here for add. So for add, it should be blank, right? Now down here, when we have our one here, for author in all authors. Okay, now this is the tricky part. We need to grab all the authors and put them in here. Okay, and then we need to make sure that it is it is put in here. So we need to send in all authors. So we need to create a variable for all authors. So if I'm going to copy this whole thing, and I'm going to paste it back into books.html. Okay, books.html. But then I need to adjust my books, because if I look in my books in my first route, I am not getting all the authors. I'm only getting all the books. Okay, so I need to grab all the authors. Okay, and I could do this quite simply by just creating another query right here, right below it, executing the next query. Or I could tell it to. So I could tell it in chat. I really like using chat. I can say, I'm going to close this. I'm going to open up the books blueprint, and I'm going to say, we are going to need all authors sent to the books.html page. Please adjust. And now it should adjust this books one. So it's grabbing it. Okay. And then here's all books. And then it does another one. Select author, all authors, and it sends them both in, all authors. Now, I'm going to copy that. It's all finished. I'm going to copy that. So let's copy it again just in case. And then I'm going to go back to PyCharm. I'm going to copy the whole thing. I'm going to paste it in. Okay. All right. So that should work. Let's go and see what it looks like for the test. So I come over here. I hit refresh. So far, we have our author name. So we know add works, right? So add, there's Big Bunny. Okay. So we know that works. Okay. Now over here, we can hit update. Big Bunny is here. It's the only one. We know that works. Okay. If we go to authors, we don't have to have a drop down, because it's just, this is the other table. Okay. This is the one with the foreign key that feeds into books. Okay. So in books, we need to have this drop down. Okay. And we need to have this drop down. Okay. So let's go into authors and add another author. So we'll just say, Jerry Cat, add the author. Okay. Go back to books, add a book, and then both of them should be there just like that. Okay. And then let's just see if it works. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to hit close. I'm going to update. I'm going to pick Jerry Cat. I'm going to click update, and that works. So this is the power of creating that relational database and using the drop downs and using ChatGPT for it. So if you don't have ChatGPT, okay, you can look at the code and pause this video and look at the code. Okay. So really, we only made adjustments to the code in this route. Okay. We have now two queries. Here's a query, and then here is another query, but this query we didn't use a thing called query. It's just one little line. So we just executed it here. Okay. So here's our first query. Here's our second query. Okay. Not a problem. This goes in all books. This goes into all authors. We're passing both of them into our thing. So that's the code. Okay. Now what we could do if we're having problems and we want to see how this is going to work, we can copy that code. We can go back to our workbench. We can close these little tables and we can go to our query thing. In our query, we can paste it in and we can run it. And that's what's going to come out. And so notice that this is what's going to show up and this is what's getting passed as the variable. Okay. So this is what's getting passed to the HTML page as all books. It has a column called book ID, a column called book name, a column called page count, author ID, first name, and last name. That is all that's being passed. Okay. And if there was 100 of these, all of those would get passed. Okay. So that is what's getting passed. Okay. So you can always test and see what the SQL statement's actually, if it's working or not. So if you have an error, you can see if it works. So I'm going to grab this one. And if you always say, well, why do your SQL statements work and mine don't? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, because I give it the data structure and I tell it ahead of time how to write the data structure. So this is what's being passed as my all authors. Author ID, first name, and last name. Okay. All right. So that is lesson number 4 of module 4. At this point, you should be good enough to finish up module 4.